Hey guys, I'm Rain, and I am the Skeptical Mystic, and today I want to talk about figuring out what's missing. If you've watched any of my previous videos, you know that a lot of the stuff that's kind of like on my mind, I bring to here, partly because I think reading about questions that are plaguing me are interesting, and partly because, I figure if I'm thinking about it, then someone out there is thinking about it and asking the same questions. So if you are feeling like there's some piece that's missing, something that hasn't fallen into place, this is the video for you. We're going to look to a little bit of guidance from the cards here to kind of figure out where that missing piece maybe comes from and what we need to do to fill that missing piece back in, if we even have to. Who knows? Like sometimes we're looking for something that's kind of already there, or we don't realize that we're not missing anything, we're just not seeing things the right way. So if you haven't seen this channel before, I'll give you the quick rundown. I have 4 decks. I have a 4-sided die, and we're going to pull 4 cards. We're going to pull a past, present, and future card, and those are going to look at sort of how we got to where we're going and maybe the direction that we need to be going. And we're going to have a 4th card called the Crux, and that Crux is what kind of pulls all of this stuff together. Really, if we want to avoid that negative future, or if we want to go towards that positive future, or maybe something that's not even about positives or negatives, or just about the attitude that we bring to the question, that's going to be the Crux. It's going to be really the turning point for the entire thing. So I roll the die, and each time I roll, I'm going to pick from one of these 4 decks. I have 2 tarot decks and 2 oracle decks, and if they come up, I'll explain sort of what they are and why I like them and all that stuff. But yeah, so we're going to be focusing on that missing piece, that feeling that something is out of place or gone, right? So often in life, whether we're feeling good or not so good, we feel like it could be better if just something is just not right. When we're feeling down, it's like, what am I missing? What do I need to do to get that next step towards the success that I want? Or, when we're feeling up, sometimes it can just feel like, okay, but why don't I feel fulfilled in the way that I should? Something is not right here. Something is missing. So we're going to try and think on that, about where that feeling could be coming from and where it could take us. So without any further ado, give that die a roll. And that is a 3. That is a 3 right there. So that's going to be our Empyrean deck. This deck is super cool. It is an oracle deck. It's holographic, which means that it can be a real pain in the ass when I'm trying to show it on camera or take pictures of it, because you have to get the lighting bad. You have to have bad lighting for it to show up, because if it's too bright, you'll see all the little ridges that make holographic print work. But that's usually kind of what you don't want in photography. You don't want bad photographs. So I usually try and give it a quick flash into the camera here and show off the hologram of it. So we will see. It's a really cool deck. It's got some very interesting sort of I guess not off the wall, but I don't know enough about tarot to know how much it really kind of mimics traditional tarot cards, but I know some of the cards in it don't really feel like tarot cards to me. They definitely, it's very, very much its own thing. My wife, whose deck this is, was telling me that the studio, whoever who makes this deck, is no longer making them. They're moving on to sort of bigger projects, because this is a relatively expensive deck, and so it seems like they did well enough to maybe move into some other ideas and not spend what I imagine is quite a bit of downstairs playing Valheim. I can hear her cackling, laughing. Not spend a ton of money and stuff printing these decks, because they are really thick stock. They're really, really she was like, "Can I get this?" This was a few years ago, and I was like, "I guess." It's a little expensive. But this deck kind of feels like it's gonna hold up, and it's got a lot of really interesting insights. So we'll see what it wants to say. It is notorious for being really finicky about giving up cards. It doesn't always feel like it really wants to. A lot of the time, I wind up sitting here kind of rambling on for 10 minutes trying trying to just waiting for that card to come out, waiting for the universe to kind of pick for us, right? I personally am like, shuffle the deck and pick one. But I'm informed that that's not always, I mean, that can be how it works, you know? But I feel like the sort of contemporary approach is to kind of like let the universe decide. And especially, you know, like I'm rolling dice, or I'm rolling a die, excuse me. Star just had an aneurysm. I'm rolling a die, right, to pick, you know, randomly from the decks for each of these things. And so it's why have, you know, some elements of chance and then shuffle a deck and pick one off the top, when so much of it is about like leaving it up to the forces at work, such as they are, whether that's you know, gravity or something else. But yeah, this deck does not like to cough them up, so we might be here for a while. If it's your first time here, welcome, and say hello in the comments and let me know at the end of this video what you think, or let me know right now what you think. I don't care. Let me know. Tell me what's on your mind. It might get to the point where I just say, she the last time she was messing with this was like, I just don't think maybe it just doesn't, this isn't it. And I'm like, nah, man, you just gotta let it cook. Just let it cook. And I'm trying like really hard not to like intentionally fuck it up, because I think that would be really obvious and kind of defeats the purpose. Like, I'm not going anywhere. I got nothing better to do. Okay, see, now that's too many cards, guys. That's too many cards. You can't all be the past card. It doesn't work that way. I mean, it does. You could at different points be the past card, but for this exercise, you're trying to say too much. Just let's get down to the meat and potatoes of it. Empyrean deck. If I'm trying to do stuff like not look at the cards and not hold them too tightly, but I've said before, like, oh, there we go. I have like a whole thing about not wanting to get pride in my shuffling skills as a card player in the past. Ooh, you are, hello? It's so, oh, repel, okay. It's like vertical. This is like a horizontal card. That's really cool. There's like a dragon standing on top of like a globe that has like double rings, like Saturn rings. It's like standing on top like it's conquered it. It's very cool. So we'll put this one in horizontally, repel. So let's see what the Empyrean has to say about our past with this question. Page 72. Each time we say no, we are continuing to tell ourselves and the universe what it is we truly want. Sometimes it's tempting to say yes, to go along with it. We might sign off on something just hoping it goes better than we expect. To practice repel magic is to trust in yourself, your power, and the forces of the universe in such a way that you're willing to jump off the cliff without a safety net. To turn your back on something enticing, promising, or guaranteed is to be willing to suffer if you end up being wrong. But it's also knowing that it's suffering you chose, not suffering you were forced to take. It's the freedom to fail. And often, when we take that step for ourselves, when we trust ourselves so deeply, things will conspire in our favor. It doesn't mean the road is less troublesome, but it's our trouble. Do not fear saying no. Be so aligned with what you want that you insist on its existence. So, thinking of this card as our past, right? Looking back on decisions that we made where maybe we had sort of a crossroads and we chose the thing that felt right. And maybe we'll see when we get to the present, we're now dealing with the consequences of that action. Or it felt right in the moment, but presently it didn't work out the way that we were expecting. Like at the time we were like, yes, this is what I want to do, not for you, not for you, Dad, this is for me sort of energy, right? And I think the repel card takes that, but kicks it into like a far less ironic sort of mode, right? Of like, no, this isn't about you. This is about what I want. And I think it's really important that we look back into our past for those moments of confidence and bravery to inspire and motivate us, right? I think everyone at some point or another has that pivotal moment in their life where they made the choice, not because it was easy, but because it was theirs, because it was their choice. I remember when I was in my mid-20s, things were not going so great for me. And it was largely a hell of my own choosing. I was not doing great for me. And my parents were like, look, you need to move back in with us and join the military and get your fucking life on track. And that was a sort of threat that had hung over my head pretty much my entire life. My dad was a military guy. Lots of people in my family were military people. And it was always something that I kind of knew wasn't right for me. And so here it was where they were kind of like, I was kind of living off their teat, even though I was a little old for that by social standards anyway. And they were kind of tired of dealing with my bullshit. My mom gave me an ultimatum, and it would have been very easy to say, okay, fine. And, I would have had like, a free place to live and meals paid for and structure and discipline and all of these sorts of things. But it wasn't anything I would ever do for myself. It was something I was actively trying to avoid my entire life. And I remember being on the phone with her and she's like, you need to do this or we're cutting you off. And I was like, then cut me off. I'll figure it out. And I did. And I actually kind of had to get my shit together and pull my head out of my ass. And it took that for me to realize how far up my own ass I was, right? And I look back on that past experience and go, if I could do that then, right? With no good reason other than because it's not right for me. I had no money. I had no good prospects. I dropped out of school. Like everything was bad. And yet I knew I could make it work. And so I chose what was right for me. I repelled the easy sort of path, and it led me to a career that has been incredibly meaningful and enriching for me in working, with at-risk youth and stuff, which I stumbled into on accident because I just needed to get a job and start paying my own way in a way that I hadn't really taken seriously before. And so, it might be that kind of moment in your past where you took a stand for you and rejected the easy way. It might also be where you rejected something or repelled, I should say, something that was a good idea. You just didn't want to go down that road, right? You had two sort of like paths that you could take and you said, no, I'm going to do it my way, right? I appreciate your help, or I appreciate, the possibility of going this way, but you're asking me to zig and I've got to zag, man. And those are moments that are incredibly impactful in our lives, right? They are these, to steal my own sort of conceit, they're crux moments, right? They're turning points. They are very, very important. So when we're looking through this reading, try to think about that big moment, or maybe, the biggest, because you might have multiple of these if you're an old fogey like me, where you had that sort of pivot away from what was expected or what others wanted from you, and you went your own way. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't, but you did it your way. And that's what repel magic is, right? Is when we take that step. So let us now move on to our present card. This is the card that's going to inform us of sort of how we got to where we are right now. And that is going to be a 4, which is our Twildic deck. I called it Tiddlywinks in the last video, and Star, my wife, was like, it's a little irreverent because the guy passed away. And I was like, oh, dude, that's a bummer. But I don't know. Like, I thought it was funny. Maybe I shouldn't call it that, but I think, okay, this card wanted to come out. I was trying to put it back into the right spot, and it was like, no. Anyway, so this is our present card. This is from our 12 deck. This is a traditional tarot deck. That is my wife's. It's her favorite. It was her first. And this is the Knight of Coins. Knight of Coins. So let's take a look real quick. Let me pull up the info on this bad boy. Knight of Coins. Continue for free script. No, I don't. Where is? I've seen. TYLDW Tildwick Tarot Manual. View rating plus card images. I'm looking for Knight of Coins. It's gonna say no, isn't it? Page. Oh, we just barely have in this like free version of it or whatever. Let's see. Let me give you a quick description of this card. So there's this very ornate fireplace that's kind of flanked by two vases that hold plants that are in bloom, or not in bloom, but they're not dead. The mantelpiece of this fireplace has a clock, and on top of that is a painting with a portrait of a man. It's very like there's lots of things inset within things, but it's very. I'll have a picture up on the screen here in a minute. Yeah, so that's going to be our present card here. Oh, Jinxie wants to come say hello. Hey, sweetie, don't be mean. Jinxie, you're okay. The dog likes to chase after the cats, and so when he comes into like their safe space, they get very anxious. Hello? It's okay. It's okay, see? It's okay. It's okay, Jinxie boy. Jinx very much likes to be. Merlin's going to hide in the bathroom. I probably should just kick BB out and close the door. Come on, bub. Come on, bub. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. When Star is like on her computer, BB, no. Star's on her computer playing games and stuff. He gets, he doesn't like when she's talking, but he doesn't know who she's talking to. So, hello, Jinxie boy. All right. In this card is a representation of the Knight of Coins, elementally Fire of Earth. I am reminded of a seed that sprouts because the soil begins to warm. The fire element can be seen in the fireplace and the salamanders. The earth element is expressed in the landscape painting behind the portrait and the tortoises on the base of the vases. Two other animals are evident in this card, dragons and horses. Dragons symbolize a primordial power and are known for guarding treasures. These traits are seen in the knight as he guards and takes care of his resources. This is a guy who would never miss an oil change or postpone a checkup at the doctor. The horses also symbolize power, but because they've been domesticated, they represent the ability to harness and use such strength. The knight knows how to have staying power because he keeps himself in check and focuses on the task at hand. Like the other knights, the Knight of Coins has a clock on the mantle too, but unlike the others, his clock shows day and night phases. Here is where he takes a sharp turn away from his fellow knights. He isn't impulsive because he moves with the seasons and cycles instead of minutes and hours. He knows there is a proper procedure and order of doing things, and these can't be rushed. He is definitely infinitely more patient and precise than the other knights, and he measures progress not by time, but by steps taken toward the goal. You can bet this guy will finish the job, slow but steady like the tortoise, but don't expect any spontaneity out of him. Okay, 1 second. What, baby? What? Yeah. What? I'm in the middle of doing stuff, dude. I don't know what you want. So here we are in the present, right? And I think this really speaks to where a lot of us are right now, partially out of circumstance, right? I think a lot of people are very much in sort of like survival mode, like get shit done mode, especially with the changing sort of like landscape of the world. It feels more and more essential to kind of have your ducks in a row, to keep your head down, right? To take care of your shit. And I think that might inform us why we feel like something's missing. I feel like a lot of people are having this experience of losing something very human right now. I think people feel like we are getting more and more into the mode where survival is the only thing, right? That is the only thing that we really get to experience. And it's becoming harder and harder to have experiences that feel really like living, right? Money is tight, and our sort of job stability is always up in the air. You lose your job, you lose your insurance and your livelihood and all of these sorts of things. And, I just went to the grocery store today and spent an exorbitant amount of money that we barely had on just a full cart of groceries. That would have cost, a quarter of what it cost just a year or two ago. Things are really out of control. And so to succeed in the present, you have to be this sort of knight of coins, right? You really have to kind of have your shit together. You really have to be minding your P's and Q's. You really have to be in this big mindset. And this is, the knight of coins is working in seasons, not minutes. It's not day to day. It's this constant, overwhelming, overarching need to sort of be surviving, to keep everything together. And if that's you, you're not alone. I think a lot of people, myself included, are feeling that way, that we're missing, the opportunity to go on an adventure or try something new. And, if you're younger, you might be feeling like you didn't get the opportunity to do the things that maybe people my age were able to do because of the way things are. And if you're older, in the 30s, 40s, 50s range, you might be feeling like those chances, those opportunities to feel young and vibrant and free and alive seem to be getting fewer and further between, as you're just kind of constantly being this pragmatist, right? You're constantly dealing with this mode of survival, and we've become very good at it. Human beings, we're adaptable, we're very capable of handling sort of ourselves in this way. We have survived and evolved by adapting to our environments, just like other creatures that survive and evolve. But that can be really, dangerous, because we're animals, but we're not just animals, right? Not the way that we conceive of animals anyway. We have hopes and dreams and ambitions and imaginations in a way that I can only hope that Jinx actually has, but I haven't seen it, but we also don't get to live like cats. Maybe his biggest ambition is to play with the feather and chase it around later. And when he gets to do that, that's when he feels vibrant and alive. I don't know. That's a tangent. I just like to think about what my cat thinks about. So here we are in the present. We've gone from being able to be someone who pushed away things we repelled, right? Stuff that wasn't right for us, that didn't fit, that didn't work. And here we are in the present day, and we don't have that option. We don't have the luxury of choice in the same way that we did before, right? The trains have to run on time, as it were. And so a lot of our choice has been taken away from us. And when you feel like something's missing, I think that's a big part of it, is I don't get to just go and pursue the things that I really want to. Even if you don't know what's missing, you know that it's something that's outside of your grasp or not easily in reach, because if it was something that you encountered routinely every day in your normal day-to-day, you wouldn't feel like it wasn't there, right? It's something that you're not being exposed to. So if your day-to-day is clockwork, right? If your day-to-day, your month-to-month, your year-to-year, everything is starting to run the same. I know since 2020, time has felt extremely fake. That's that Knight of Coins energy, which, on one hand can be very beneficial. It brings stability and predictability to an otherwise unstable and unpredictable environment, but it can also get us into a place of stagnancy. It can get us to a place where we feel like we're kind of in a rut. So that is our present, right? That's why we're here, is maybe we're in that rut. Maybe we are missing that thing, and it's something outside of the bounds of our need to survive. And let's take a look at our future card and see sort of where our crux winds up. And that's another 4. So Twildic? I'm going to learn how to pronounce this damn deck's name. I promise you. Making another appearance, which is nice. This is like I said, the cards, they're kind of hard at first glance to see, simply because they're very muted. It's very earthy. The whole deck is very very brown, which isn't to say that it's not without nuance or depth. The flip side of that is everything. It is extremely intricate, and as you know, when looking at the description here, right? There are no sort of accidental details, right? There are no because it looks good, right? There's very, very clear intention in the details of each of these cards, and there is a lot of details in each of these cards. So it's a very cool deck, and definitely is discontinued, and the creator has passed away, I've been informed. So a little piece of tarot lore here. It fell. Can I get it without disturbing Jinxie? So this right here is the 2 of Staves. It's the 2 of Staves. Just making sure this is right. In this image, 2 spikes of a red hot poker, aka torch lily, stand against a bare background. This plant is a native of Africa, so it likes lots of sun and heat. Hummingbirds love these flowers. Here, one inflorescence cluster of flowers is in full bloom while another is just beginning. Yes? Hummingbirds could enjoy the fully open flowers on the one spike, but would have to wait a while for the other spike's flowers to completely open. In the same way, we often find ourselves enjoying some part of life, but wondering, is this all there is? What we have is good, but there might be something even better out there. We begin to feel restless. Should we maintain the status quo or strike out for new territory? It would require some effort on our part if we decide to branch out, and patience and tenacity would be needed as well. If the excitement of doing something more or different grabs us, we're going to have to emerge from our comfy cocoons. So there you have it. Well, there Jinxie has it. Hello, kitten. Do you mind being maybe just a little bit in a different spot? Do you mind being over here? So people can see the cards? That would be cool. Thank you, buddy. That is the 2 of Staves here. And wow, talk about on the money, right? I think this really kind of speaks to how we achieve the answer to our question, right? I think it's answering for us when we maybe look back from the present, from the future to our current present, which would be the past. You know what I'm talking about, right? When a year from now, when you're looking back on this, you'll be like, oh man, I was in such a rut and I didn't even know it. Every day was feeling exactly the same, and I didn't have any sort of change of direction in my life. Everything was just kind of on cruise control. And this is the 2 of Staves saying, yep, yeah, Yeah. If you want to avoid being there in the future, you're going to have to make some choices, right? And I think this is what the repel card is saying, is you're going to have to do that big choice for you. You're going to have to take that big step in a new direction for you, like you've done before. What you did before got you here, and now what you did before is going to take you either to the open path or the closed one. And you can choose to accept this rut and this monotony, or you can choose a different path, right? This is the crossroads. The crossroads is your future, right? Because there is the rut, and then there's the road less traveled. And I think what these cards are trying to tell us is, if you got here by this big decision, by this big choice that was just for you, that was so meaningful, that was so important, then it's time for you to do it again. It's time for you to make that choice where you push away what's expected of you, where you push away what the easy choice would be, and just go with your gut, your heart. And maybe that means I'm going to take that vacation that I've been putting off, and I don't care. Right? Like, I don't care if my boss isn't going to approve it or not. I'm going to tell them I'm taking that vacation, and I am going to go on that road trip, or I am going to go see that relative. I think about how Star and I met, which was on a complete whim. I was terrified. I got on a plane to go and fly and meet all the way across the country to meet somebody I'd never met in person before, to see if we would hit it off. We're fucking married now, right? And I just decided one day that that's what I was going to do. We've been talking online for a while, and then I was like, I got a plane ticket. I'm coming to see you. I'm putting in time off from work. These are the things that are going to happen. This was something, this interaction was supposed to be like two content creators on the internet who were like kind of like flirty with each other or whatever, but it escalated, and we both felt like it could be something bigger than a flirtation. So I took a risk. I took a leap. I did something I'd never done before. Same thing when in the previous story where I was talking about my parents, I'd never just said, no, I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to fucking pull my head out of my ass and be a real boy, right? Because that's hard. Those are hard decisions to make sometimes. To fly maybe in the face of your own instinct of like, what is right, what is expected of you, what you're supposed to be doing, and say, no, who cares? It's like that meme that's like, I think it's Jeremy Clarkson from Top Gear, who is like, this is brilliant, but I like this, right? And I think these cards are saying it's time. It's time for you to make another one of those choices. It's time for you to really like do the thing for you, or you're going to stay in this path. And this path is fine. This path is fine. This rut, this routine is fine. Billions of people throughout all of human history have lived and did what they were supposed to do, and then died and moved on with their, and the world kept turning, right? But we feel a certain despair for those people. We feel a certain pity for those people because like there's so much more to living than that. And of course we're making assumptions about what these people's lives were like or whatever, but we know that that's not it for us. But sometimes that means making a really difficult choice because it's the right one for you. So our future is one of these two flowers, and it's up to us to decide which one it's going to be. And that's going to bring us to our crux card, which is how we're going to make that choice, or maybe it'll give us a little bit insight into what kind of choice we even need to make. That is a 3, so it's going to be these two only. Rainbow Brainskull and the Steampunk Tarot do not make it into this reading, which I think is kind of appropriate. Both of these decks are very intense in a way that these two are not. Now, both of these, I mean, this is a tarot deck, so you know tarot can be intense, but like Rainbow Brainskull has some pretty intense cards, but I feel like Empyrean and the style of the Twildeck deck are really sort of like in the vein of like, no, man, like this is not a fucking around sort of question, and you're not going to get a fucking around sort of answer. The art is not going to make you go, oh, how cute. It's going to make you go, oh shit. Almost. I kind of thought about it. I kind of felt it. And then I was like, no, it's not. That's not it. That's not the right one. With this deck, the one that comes, like when the right card comes out, I feel like you know it. That's the sort of benefit of it being kind of finicky and persnickety about giving up the goods, is when the right card comes out, there's no like, is it this one? Is it that one? It's like, no, that's, oh, there it goes. You know, it's on the floor, or it flipped upside down right onto the table. Something like that. It flew 10 feet in the air. That's the kind of deck this deck is. It is, I think, my actual favorite, even though it's not mine. I've grown to really just appreciate, like, every time I look at the art on this deck, I'm like, holy shit, this is so cool. Like, what an interesting, right up my alley in a way that's not in any way, shape, or form right up my alley. It's very colorful, and it's holographic, and all this sort of stuff. It's like pink goth, and I think I'm not so secretly basically pink goth. I desperately want to be dark and brooding and edgy, but those times have come and gone, man. And even when I was in my like sort of like misunderstood tortured artist phase, it was always about like making an impression, not in like a pickup artist way, but just in a attention grabbing way, right? Bright red pants and stuff like that, rather than like all black like my soul. It was like bright red like my fucking soul. So there's something about the ostentatiousness of this deck that really gets to me, but it's got that, like, it's got some bite to it. It's got some edge. And I'm like, yeah, fuck me up with that shit. Don't tell Star, but I'm stealing it. It's mine now. Nothing terrible could come of stealing someone's tarot deck. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure cosmologically, phenomenologically speaking, that there's nothing problematic about that at all, and surely no kind of like sayings or warnings or portents about doing such things. Can't imagine that kind of thing. No. I was like, is it you? Are you trying to like be birthed? Trying to like exit the womb here? And it was like, nah, dude, I'm just sticking out. I was like, yeah, okay. Like I said, I'm trying not to like look at them. There you are. Huh. This card just kind of keeps on keeping on. This is Abandon, which has shown up in, I think, all of my readings so far. Or almost all of them. Which is nice because I don't have to make a new graphic for it. That saves me like 3 minutes of work. But it is an angel holding what appears to be like a chess piece, upon which sits a planet, like a Saturn-looking planet. And that angel is atop a floating sort of like piece of rock in the sky. So this is also a horizontal card, so I'll put that guy in there horizontal as well, and we'll get a good picture of it. But let's, I don't know why I was going that way. The deck is right here, and now for like the third time I get to read Abandon. But never as the crux. It just keeps showing up in all of these. And I guess maybe because the nature of this and my previous two readings are very much in sort of like the same vein in a lot of ways. Obviously not one-to-one or anything like that, but I just passed it. But it's not terribly surprising that it would come up when the themes are so similar. There's always a last time. Sometimes we think we've found it. The person, the place, the thing. Only for enough time to pass to realize it wasn't the world. It was a snow globe that we dared to be real. And like a houseplant that has outgrown its pot, we too must leave sometimes. So we gather our grief and carry it in our shaking hands, or we walk out with an emptiness that feels like permafrost, or we steal away like a thief in the night. The shape in which we are leaving is not as important as honoring the knowing. We must bend to it, even when it's hard, even when it's so much easier to stay in our small pot. To abandon is to love the snow globe for what it was, a momentary home, a pocket we whispered our dreams into, and we can find a space for it on the altar of our hearts while we walk the open road. So This card keeps popping up, and I think for good reason. Here as our crux card, right? As we're looking at this divergent path between stagnation and predictability, but stability and the rut. The crux is whether we're willing to give something up. And the description of the abandoned card is saying, like, yes, like that is what you must do, right? It's not about should you or could you. It's about the inevitability of giving things up, the inevitability of grief, the inevitability of opportunity cost, the inevitability of loving and losing. And if you want to break out of your rut, you're going to have to give something up for it. That's how it works, right? If you got to have your cake and eat it too, everyone would do it. But to take that next step into the unknown, into something different, something that breaks you out of your rut and into yourself, to find that piece that's missing, you're going to have to give something up that isn't. You're going to have to walk away from something that maybe you don't want to, or maybe you do want to, but it's been a real challenge, right? Mustering up the courage to do so. It could be a relationship. It could be a job. It could be, something else completely. It could be giving up, on a past that you're sort of nostalgic for or wistful for, right? It could be getting over that relationship that has already come and gone, right? And moving from a place of hurt to a place of acceptance, right? I know I've been in that spot where I've lost my job or I've had a breakup and it's really tough. You got used to doing things a certain way. And now that routine has been disrupted, you don't know what to do. You don't know what's next. There's so much uncertainty. There's so much sadness. There's so much whatever. And inevitably it will pass. And you will look back on that experience with a very different feeling. And the abandoned card is saying the crux is to move on, to move willingly, knowing that you're giving something up. So if you're stuck in a rut, you don't know what's missing, you don't know what is not there in your life. Well, if we look back and say, it's time to make that choice, maybe it's time to start looking at a new job. I'm not saying quit your job tomorrow, but maybe it's time to start looking at something that feels more fulfilling to you. Or maybe it's time to pick up and move to that city you've always dreamed of moving to. Maybe it's time to make that big change that forces you out of your rut, but also forces change that is both good and bad. I remember when we moved out to California, I'd lived in Colorado for 20 years. And that was a huge change for me. I'm a military brat. I said before, my family, my dad was in the military. And so we moved around a ton. So moving my entire childhood to spending 20 years in one place, building community, putting roots down, knowing all the ins and outs, to suddenly uproot that brought up a lot of feelings, brought up a lot of issues. And those are things that eventually I was going to have to confront. It was a huge abandon, and I still miss Colorado. I still look back fondly on Colorado, but I also recognize that my life in Colorado had become very much this rut. I'd worked at the same place for 9 years, and nothing really was seeming to improve. My wages certainly weren't. My life certainly didn't seem to be improving significantly until this big, disruptive hurricane of a woman came into my life and upended everything. And I look back on my time in Colorado wistfully, nostalgically, loving having spent that time there, but knowing at some point that if I wanted to do more, be more, break out of that, I was going to have to give up something. And in this case, it was Colorado. That might be it for you, picking up and moving to that place you've always wanted to go. Hopefully, that thing clicks for you just in hearing this and has already, I'm just kind of repeating myself at this point now that I think about it. But if it has already clicked, like what's that thing that you've wanted to do, or that thing that feels right, but you've been too afraid because it's too disruptive? It's not too disruptive. It's just disruptive. The consequences could be good, they could be bad, but that's true of every big decision you'll ever make. That's true of every small decision you'll ever make. Crossing the street could be good or bad, depending on whether traffic sees you and stops, or you can't know all of the things that could have devastating impacts on your life, for better or worse, right? So we just have to do the doing. We don't cross the street because a car might hit us. We cross the street. We look both ways. We take precautions. We think about it. And maybe those are the skills we picked up here in this survival mode that are preparing us for this, that are preparing us for that future. We're blending what we want, that big momentous decision that's really scary and challenging, but we know we're going to survive it because we're fucking survivors. We've been surviving for years and we're going to keep doing it, but we're going to do it on our terms. And that feeling, that grief, that wistfulness, that pain of loss, we're going to survive that too. We've got this. But now is the time to start really thinking about what you're missing is a choice maybe that you've been putting off for a long time, or a dream that you've had that you've never felt the courage to pursue because it felt too big, or cutting someone out of your life that needs to go, but you don't have the heart to break out of that relationship or that situation. Or maybe it's I say relationship, I don't mean romantic necessarily, right? It could be friends, family, something like that, right? It could be hard to move on and cut those people out of our lives, but sometimes we have to. It's the best thing for us. We've grown apart. We're holding on to something because of what it used to be, and it's okay to look back on what it used to be fondly while recognizing that it ain't that anymore, and that it's not right for us, and it's time for us to make that pivotal choice and let it go. And not just let it go, but let it go to move into that new direction in your life. If you came into this video, expecting that missing piece is you just haven't found the love of your life. No, I don't fucking know. But that piece is out there. That thing that's missing is out there, and you're not going to find it here. You're not going to find it in the stable, in the routine, in the everyday. You're going to find it by giving up the stable and the routine and the everyday and branching off in a different direction. So that's my read on these cards. Let me know what you think, if you saw something different, if there was something that I missed. Again, I am Rain, the Skeptical Mystic. It's been a pleasure. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe on the video for the algorithm, and tip your waitress. They'll be here all week. Okay, thank you so much. Love you. Bye. See you next time.